Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and I am here to do the top 5 English novels tag. Now, this did not start off as a tag. It was a video done by Eric, the Lonesome Reader. He had a guest on his channel, and they were discussing their top 5 English novels. But Shelley Swearingen wanted to beat Steve Donahue to the punch, so she weaponized that video and turned it into a tag. Now, I was not originally tagged in her video, but I made a comment saying, this looks really interesting. I'll wait till I'm tagged to do this video. And she sort of tagged me after the fact in the comments, and I guess that's okay, because this can be a fun tag. Now, there really aren't any rules to this. You pick your top 5 English novels. Now, Shelley decided to limit her top 5 to the book she's read since joining BookTube. And I'm sort of putting a limit on mine too. I'm doing mine from the past, top 5 English novels from the past 3 years. And the reason I did that is that some of the books that I would consider my top 5 English novels, such as Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy, Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad, and 1984 by George Orwell, I have not read in quite a few years. And I have to ask myself, if I have not read them in such a long time, are they still, or should they still be considered a favorite novel? So I'm pushing all the books I read a long time ago aside and just picking books that I've read in the past 3 years and see what the top 5 English novels that I've read in the past 3 years are. Now, these are not in any kind of order. They're not a top 5. They're just the top 5 novels that I have read. And I will be introducing them sort of in the order that I read them. And this is the only book I have a physical copy of. And this is The Spy Who Came In From the Cold by Jean le Carré. It is a spy novel, obviously. And it is the story of a spy runner. It starts off in West Berlin, and he's on the border with East Berlin, and he's getting ready to pull a spy over from the East. And things go wrong. And when Lamus gets back to Britain, he is basically pushed out of the spy service and forced to fend for himself. And things do not go according to plan. Now, what makes this a great novel is that there are things happening in the background that a reader may not pick up on immediately. There is a main character in this book that appears in maybe 3 or 4 pages of the entire book, but he is all over this book. And I just love this. This is what you would imagine real life spies are like. This is not James Bond, who is drinking martinis shaken, not stirred, and dressing in fancy suits and sleeping with lots of beautiful women and having lots of adventures. This is cold, it is dirty, it is nasty. This is what people have to do when they are spies. And I just think this is a fabulous book. Now, a lot of this book does not take place in Britain. There's a core early on that does take place there, but a lot of the action takes place in East Berlin, and I highly recommend this book. The next is sort of a series of 2 books, and even though they are individual books, I'm sort of putting them together as one book, and that is The Warden and Barchester Towers by Anthony Trollope. The Warden starts off with Mr. Harding. He runs basically an invalid hospital as part of his music team, as a what are the pastors are called in Britain? I can't remember. He's a warden. And he gets an income by running this hospital of £800 a year, which back then was enough money to have a decent little life. But someone sues him, saying that that money really does not belong to him, and it belongs to the church, and he should give up his position. And the man who's doing that is his potential son-in-law. And it is just a delightful little novel. But I'm only mentioning that because it leads up to the book that I really want on my top 5, and that is Barchester Towers by Anthony. And it follows Mr. Harding's daughter. And there are lots of things going on there. And I don't want to mention too much because it could spoil the Warden. They do need to be read in order, I think. But you can probably read Barchester Towers if you have not read the Warden. And Barchester Towers concerns the leading clergy of the city of Barchester. And the bishop's new chaplain, he's a bit hypocritical. He's a man named Mr. Slope. And Mr. Slope wants to marry Harding's daughter. And there's a whole lot of stuff going on in the background. It is very much a comedy of manners and how people behave and how people interpret that behavior. And Anthony Trollope is just a delightful author. He has a very charming style that's very easy. I normally read much darker works of fiction, but I just found myself delighted reading this book. Now, both The Warden and Barchester Towers, I listen as audiobooks narrated by Timothy West. If you are a subscriber to Audible, they should be included in your membership if you have a Prime membership, and I could highly recommend them. The next book is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I had seen this book reviewed by Michael K. Vaughan and a few others, and I decided I was going to read this book. And it's a pretty good mystery. It starts off with an unnamed woman, and she is visiting Monte Carlo and falls for a very rich widower. And the widower falls for her, and he takes her back to a place called Manderley. But it is haunted, not like a ghost, but his previous wife has died, and the staff does not like the new wife. They like the old wife. And you can call her a ghost because she haunts the book, even though it's not a spectral type of ghost. It's just her presence is all over the book. And that is the Rebecca of the title. And it becomes clear as the novel goes on that something happened to Rebecca. Now, an astute reader is going to know pretty much what happened, but not the details. There is this nice little twist at the end about how you think happened, and what was the actual cause. And there's just a very good play with the characters. Mrs. Danvers is such an evil woman. Not evil as in a serial killer or a criminal, but her intent is just vicious. Now, one of the things about this book is, I said, the main character is unnamed. She says she has a name that is difficult to spell correctly. And she was very delighted when the man, Mr. Winters, De Winters, wrote her a note and spelled her name correctly. But what was her name? So when I was reading this book, I asked my wife, can you pick out a female name that is difficult to spell? Because I had picked out a name that I thought was appropriate for this character. And she picked the same name as I did. So I'm going to throw this out to readers of Rebecca. What is the narrator's name? Now, in the description, I'm going to leave what looks like a little typographical error. It's just a jumble of letters. It is what I think the narrator's name is, but I have done a Caesar shift. And that basically means I take the character's name and shift all the letters up one letter. So A would become B, B would become C, C would become D, so forth. So if you're looking through the description and see this odd little typographical quirk in the description, just decipher it, and that's what I think the character's name is. Tell me if you agree or disagree, or if you want to submit your own name. Could be kind of an interesting little puzzle. The next book I'm going to pick is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. Now, technically, this book only has the first few chapters set in England, and the rest is set in outer space. But the main character is English, and he's what I would consider a very English man with very English manners. And that's why I'm including it on this list. And even though it's science fiction, it is one of the most hilarious books that I've ever read. Douglas Adams has this very unusual sense of humor that had me in stitches in this book. And I just read it for the first time last year. I made it to past 55 years old without reading this book. I did hear a replay of the radio plays when I was much younger, because a lot of the plot line was very familiar, and I just remembered, oh yeah, I did listen to a rebroadcast of the radio plays, because this novel existed as a radio play before it became a novel. And so I highly recommend Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. And the last one is going to be The Sea by Iris Murdoch. And that is the story of a retired actor named Charles Araby, who retires from the theater and buys a huge old mansion on the seacoast. Doesn't even have electricity. And he wants to get away from the world. Unfortunately, his previous love lives keep interceding. He meets his early love when he was very young, that she's living in this village, and he decides that, yes, she really was the love of my life, and I'm going to reclaim her, even though she is married with an adopted son. And there are more women involved in this book, and this was a book group pick for Miss Reads a Lot 1001 Book Club. It was done in January, and everyone just commented like, how many women does this man have, and what kind of relationship does he have with them? But it is a very intriguing novel. It's a little bit dense, it's a little bit slow, but totally fascinating. So those are going to be my top 5 English novels that I have read in the past 3 years. The Spy Who Came In From the Cold by Jean Le Carré, Barchester Towers by Anthony Trollope, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, and The Sea by Iris Murdoch. And please check out my name for the narrator of Rebecca. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye. Hey, I forgot to tag people. I'm not sure who's been tagged or everyone who's done this tag, but let's do Miss Reads a Lot. Let's do Big Hard Books and Classics. Let's do Book Time with Ryan and Book Time with Elvis. You don't have to do the tag if you don't want to. I just thought you might like it. Have a good day. Bye.